I've always been a firm believer that album covers can make or break an entire album. Whereas because the record covers themselves are so interesting, amazing, and are so well drawn or painted, that people who don't even know about the musician's existence can easily just, see the album cover and just say, oh, that looks nice, and pick it up. Or maybe perhaps the album cover itself was just so bland and so boring that it literally only serves as an identifier as to say, this album is called this name and it was done by this musician, without going all weird or awkward in the album art's design. Just as much as a good album cover can add on to the already existing sales of all the people who know about this musician and were looking forward to the album, a bad album cover is without a doubt going to impact sales. Even for people who were originally looking forward to the album and were just going to pre-order it, or at least just buy it on day one. Because if the album cover's bad, did they really care about the album itself in the first place? And perhaps if the album's in an awkward art style, is the rest of the album just as awkward? I bet you that's the first thing that entered your mind when you saw Drake's album cover for his latest album, Certified Lover Boy. Because apparently Drake is so bad at the Riz that he can only get emojis pregnant. Not to mention everyone finding out that he hired Damien Hirst to make the album cover. You know, the guy who sells dots and sells it for 50k. But what if the songs behind the awkward album covers are actually good? In Drake's case, no they're not. But what about these weird, awkward, just genuinely hilarious album covers from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, maybe even sometimes the 90s? Those weird ones you've only ever seen on worst album covers of all time lists. Maybe they're good. Well, that's what I'm here to find out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a small 30-second-ish sample of a song in an album with a bad album cover. I'm going to let you form your own opinion on the song, and then I'm going to show you the album cover. Just so you can judge for yourself if the actual music behind the awkward, cringy cover is actually any good. Then I'm going to add my own commentary after a bit, but that's not too important. I want you to form your own opinions, and then compare them to mine. So just as a test, I'm going to start us off with a classic. A song from a classically bad album cover. So hey, let's get started. Hit the music.
So let me live my life for Jesus. Let me be what He wants me to be. And then I'll know the joy of living for the one who has died for me. I'm gonna live for the one who has died for me.
Nice little wholesome Christian song about following the teachings of Jesus. Well, if you want to hear more like that, all you need to do is scour the record store, find a record cover with either a church, a cross, or some flowers in it, and hey, you too can praise the Lord and boogie down. Unfortunately for this song though, the album it was included on I don't think sold very well, because this was the album cover. Hi Ken. Only 4 requests from the special ladies in his life, right? No, this is actually just a simple Christian album sung by a Christian pastor. Those who expected some good old-fashioned 70s lovin' from this mustachioed fella looks like he came straight from a hardcore anal shoot from a 70s porno. Might be disappointed that there ain't any lady lovin' from this faithful man of the Lord. And those who are expecting some nice, wholesome Christian songs would probably call the local priest up to perform an exorcism on the record store, and then call the Pope up if Ken the pastor showed up. But yeah, the song, it's not bad. I mean, Ken sings pretty well. It's got some nice, lush violins in the background, a little bit of southern honky-tonk in the lead solo. If this song were playing in the background, I wouldn't hate it. But I probably wouldn't buy the album because, Ken does look like a total doofus on the cover, so no record sales for Ken. So I did mention that Ken was a pastor. He served as a pastor in this humble little suburban church in Iowa for 17 years. He was actually part of a church for more than 40. He truly is a man of the Lord, despite his accidentally sexual album covers. I know that he's acknowledged his existence as a meme because I found at least 2 interviews, one by some random 4chaner who called him up and can respond to saying that he gets calls all the time from people who are fans of his records, and another for his local radio station in Iowa after he was quite surprised when Ellen showed his record on her show. And what's old Ken been up to lately? Well, he's gotten into politics, and he's been quite successful. Out of 120 votes for whoever got the vacant seat at his local council, Ken got 84 of them. And there he is, an official councilman for Sheldon, Iowa. Nice to know that even though he's gotten out of the pastor business, he still dresses like one. But why should the pious yet awkward followers of the Lord get all the bad album cover glory? Surely there's another genre out there that's definitely not Christian, definitely not quite as wholesome, but still has some religious undertones to it. Surely there's a genre like that also has its fair share of bad album covers. Well, thankfully for us, there is. Hit the music. Yeah, heavy metal, baby. Okay, look, there's a lot of old shitty metal album covers out there. I assume these bands wanted as many Vikings, as many dragons as they could cram into one album cover. But again, they were heavy metal musicians in the 80s and 90s. They didn't have any money. So the quality of the artwork they could get for, I don't know, $60, a 12-pack, and a promise of a further payment of $250 that both the artist and the band know they'll never pay. And well, a lot of artwork for smaller heavy metal bands, especially those who are not signed to record labels, were hilarious now, but pretty laughably shit back then. So what did the cover for the album that this song was included look like? It looked like this. Okay, so this really wasn't much of a dragons and Vikings and violence mythological metal band. It was more so a hair metal band. Bit more glitzy, bit more glamorous, and obviously a bit more kitschy. I mean, look, this was probably the look back in the 80s. These guys were probably sexy and fucking hot back then. But here, they look like they're trying way too hard, and they just look stupid. Imagine how stupid the e-boys and e-girls are going to look, even amongst the teen TikTok crowd, in like 5 years' time, at least. Which is absolutely rich for me to say, because right now I'm rocking a full-on mullet, which right now in 2020's Australia is cool. Just like these guys were cool in the late 80s. Now, one reason why this band wasn't particularly successful is that A, on Discogs.com, they are one of 4 bands under the name Helter Skelter. I mean, look, by the 80s, Charles Manson became cool. Helter Skelter was the name of his weird religion that he and his religious cult followed. By that time, he was no longer the crazy criminal, but Hollywood's crazy criminal. But yeah, in my opinion, the song itself is average. Wouldn't listen to it again. But hey, if glam metal's your thing, I guess you can check this record out. All songs sound pretty much the same. And it's not like the guy can't sing, or the guitarist can't play his guitar. They're at least proficient musically. Okay, look, as I said before, there are plenty of bad heavy metal album covers out there. But the problem is, a lot of the albums I could find, the very few surviving ones I could find, are all protected by copyright, so I can't even play them, no matter how much I distort them by. With my lo-fi audio effects and analog background noise I'm playing over these songs. I guess the heavy metal crowd are a bit more clued in to the laws of copyright than, well, their Christian contemporaries. A lot of those weird Christian albums from the 70s and the 80s were probably self-released and sold in their church or whatever, so probably didn't even have enough money to afford copyright protection if they even knew what it was. But anyways, here's the next song.
And if a Babylon rest, I pray with it on me.
Nice little funky reggae tune there. Bit of ska, bit of funk. Audio nice and crispy. Even through my special DMCA dodging copyright lo-fi fuzz filter. Hey, it's a pretty good song. How could the album cover be bad? Well, if they use this as the album cover, yeah, it can be bad. Look, it's the 70s, everyone was on drugs back then. If you were drawing art and you popped a boner, you're going to get boner art. Save for the fact that this was released in 2013. There might have been some clues that this was released later than the 70s, like A, the audio quality, and B, the fact that Sky Music wasn't even around in the 70s. But hey, if we're still talking about Ken 50 years later, because of its weird album cover, we're going to be talking about this one for at least 40 more years. Possibly more. Oh, by the way, this was the only album that Wasnatch ever made, sadly. I mean, okay, I listened to the album, and this was the only song I liked. The other songs were just way too slow for me, and for some strange reason, all the horn players just kept blaring their horns as loud as they possibly could, even through the slow songs. Oh, by the way, if you want to listen to the song, it's called Which Side, and I think it's the first track off the album. So hey, you're in for a banger right at the start, if the amazing album cover didn't let you know that already. But anyway, even though I didn't like the rest of the tracks, I like this one a lot. It's legitimately good. Wasnatch does loud reggae pretty good, if only they kept it up for the whole album. But anyway, here's the next song. Sounds just like a video game, right? Like one of those mega robot, mega anime type games like Mega Man. You know, the ending scene just before the credits roll, when the heroes are holding the treasure they stole back from the bad guy, but then just realised that their friendship was the true treasure all along. You know, that sort of thing. You'd be correct in thinking that, because the two musicians who made the song both worked as composers for Capcom games. Most importantly, the Mega Man Zero series of the 2000s. Makes sense, right? The orchestral arrangements with the sort of electric guitar wailing. Capcom's box art hasn't been anything amazing, but they've been decent enough. You know, decent composition, decent colour scheme, pretty box standard, slap the main character on the art type of stuff. So this band obviously had a frame of reference to work with when designing their album cover. It shouldn't be that bad, right? Just take a photo of the two band members, slap it on some background, and there you go. I mean, if you just use like Photoshop or GIMP, it can't be that hard, right? The only way to screw this up is if you accidentally use something like PowerPoint instead of Photoshop. Which, by the looks of the album cover, is exactly what they did. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that is awful. This one random picture of the band, which looks like it wasn't photoshopped particularly well. I mean, the lighting between, you know, the members of the band and the background of the City United is just totally different from one another, and there's still that jagged white outline that appears when you don't crop quite enough of the green screen out of the image. And the whole background of, and the font they used, yeah, that's just, you know, turning on what, like, Arial Narrow or something like that, and just using, you know, let's just go for this template. Yeah, it's blue and shiny. Let's just smack it on here. Yeah, and the whole layout with the image in the middle and the background being the same for the top and the bottom. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but this album art fails because it doesn't look like album art at all. It looks like the fourth slide of some kind of quarterly business meeting about the statistics collected from the data science team and how they relate to like economics and their budget and the accounting and stuff like that. It just looks so boring. I mean, the song itself's pretty good, eh? And well, these two are video game composers, so regardless of the album art, they're going to get plenty of work regardless. It's just that they could have had a bit more revenue from their album sales. Like maybe enough to contribute half the rent. Listen, if someone doesn't know anything about the album from, the musicians to any kind of musician involved in the band, they're going to look at this, assume it's just some cheap, crappy thing that two people did over a weekend and just not even bother to waste their hard-earned bucks on something that looks this cheap. But the song's pretty good, eh? Orchestral sort of arrangement, where well, in guitars, these two musicians working at Capcom makes perfect sense. It totally sounds like something out of the Mega Man Zero or X series. This next song I'm about to show you, however, does not feature on any Capcom games, sadly.
Jesus, use me. Oh Lord, don't refuse me. For surely there's a work that I can do. And even though it's humble, help my will to crumble. Though the cost be great, I'll work for you.
Imagine if that wasn't Mega Man. I don't know what they'd use it for, but whatever level they're going to use it on, it's going to look experimental and sick as fuck. But yeah, it's just an ordinary sort of Christian song, one your Christian mother would buy and never play. Now, the song is called Jesus Use Me, and okay, yeah, if there's definitely some innuendos to it. The title's a bit sus. There are plenty of Christian records like this. It's the reason why these goofy Christian album covers became a meme in the first place. Just that title, with these people just standing there awkwardly in a flower field. It's not sure if they're trying to tell us something. Yeah, this song is off one of those album covers. And this is the album cover. It's a thing of beauty. These three fine ladies really want Jesus to use them. Like the dirty women they secretly are, despite those hairdos and those glasses. I mean, the guys from Weezer were never really the best of lookers, but this has to be their most awkward look. At first I wasn't even sure if the Faith Tones were real, but apparently copies of this sell on eBay for like $250. I mean, I want one. After tracking down an original eBay copy, someone hired a private investigator and found this. So hey, the Faith Tones are real. Well, they were real. They only released one album. But they were signed to a pretty big Christian label at the time called Angelus Records. Angelus was the in-house label for a huge, big professional recording studio. And apparently now the whole recording studio is a national landmark and cannot be demolished. You can go visit it today if you live in California. But anyways, the song itself is not something I listen to. But it's not about the music. It's about the album cover.
From 12 years old to 17, I found out what hoes playing games really mean. I'm a true Mac, everybody knows that. My player skills come from way, way back. I specialize in pimpology, hoeology, and psychology.
It wasn't just boring Christian music and kitschy hair metal music that got all the awkward album covers. 90s hip-hop has plenty of them too. Now, hip-hop was unlike any other music form out there, and it technically still isn't now. I mean, just the act of rapping instead of singing. I mean, pretty much all songs had singing before hip-hop was invented, if they had vocals at all. Not to mention rapping about being broke, which from all the dick swinging that was going on in the 80s, from all the white guys in heavy metal bands. Yep, hip-hop was certainly different, and their album covers were certainly different too. Like the one that this song is in. Yep, that's the album cover. Some may say it's bad. I say it's bad, but awesome. I mean, just like dunking a chick through a basketball hoop and spending all this money to put out your one album and it's this cover. Like, hey, that's a power move if I've ever seen one. I would have expected the songs to be maybe a bit more aggressive if he's literally just if he's literally just alley-ooping and dunking chicks into the rim. But no, he's sad about the fact that he's learned what hoes really are. He's come to accept it. Again, the song's nothing special, but it's not bad. I mean, it's pretty good, you know. Oh, but speaking about special, get a load of this next song.
We like pizza in the morning. We like pizza every day. We like pizza in the evening. We like pizza anyway. I like pizza, pepperoni, mozzarella and anchovy. I like pizza with salami, eggs and cheese and oregano.
Hey, looks like we're going back to Germany. Why should America get all the bad album cover glory? Okay, so the song was released in 2006 at the height of the first CGI wave, when pretty much everyone learned how to make, you know, Photoshop and 3D graphics for the very first time, with the lowest polygon models possible. Look, Photoshop just became widely available to pretty much everyone. And on a song for kids about pizza, sung by kids, you're going to get an album cover like this. The weird white halo around the kids to try and mask the terrible threshold cutting and, well, like, even right down to the random stock image of pizza they must have pulled from Google Images. Look, some slow little techno number is exactly what I would have expected out of a song called We Like Pizza by a bunch of Germans. Not much is known about the elusive pizza kids. The only little blurb of text I could find was on Last.fm. And, okay, well, yeah. I don't know how long it's been up for, but nobody's changed it. I guess nobody's bothered to change it. Honestly, the part I wish were true is if this kid's real name was Peter Schweinslanger. Yes, I also wanted a song by kids singing about Hitler's journey to an extraterrestrial planet that turns into a disaster of a trip because he loses his Kinder Egg toy. That, unfortunately, does not exist. But what does exist is an official animated version of the song, and two different versions of this song. There's a radio version, there's a frozen version. You know, for kids whose families can't really afford takeout and instead have to go to the Walmart frozen section. But hey, pepperoni pizza, still pizza. Sprinkle a bit of chicken salt, put some Tabasco sauce on it. Hey, it's still good. Now that's a groovy, funky, sexual little flute and guitar little number, isn't it? That's gotta be my favourite track out of the bunch. That Redder guy should have put this on his sex playlist. Sure beats Usher's Love in This Club and whatever weird little techno song that sounds like a seagull wailing as it's slowly being cooked to death in a sandwich grill sounds like. The only way you can fuck up this album cover is if you have the flute player pose naked on it or something. Which is what they did. Okay, so this is Herbie Man, and he is legit. He was playing the flute when in resorts and clubs and that professionally since he was 15. The album released just 2 years before this one that he did was one of the best-selling jazz albums of all time. It was released in the late 60s when interest in jazz was pretty much at an all-time low. It had literally just gone out of style, but yet there was still room for one Herbie Man. Now if you ever doubted his jazz heritage, in the 50s, he used to look like this. Of course, that's him in the top left corner during the early 70s. Okay, while this album wasn't as successful as Memphis Underground, it was still pretty successful even though no one was interested in jazz at the time. If you want to know what makes a song so good, it's not just Herbie Man's flute playing, it's also the guitar, which is done by Dwayne Allman of the Allman Brothers Band. You know, the guy who plays the guitar in the Top Gear theme song, which is just his own song that he also released in the 70s, but you know. So yeah, great song, not the greatest album cover.
Deus Pai, quando fez o mundo, pra vivermos e escolher, terá o reino do céu, aquele que merecer.
Now, I'm obviously not going to try and pronounce the song title or even the musician's name because it's, a language I don't speak or understand. But hey, it's a nice little mariachi song. Guy's definitely a good singer, which is not something you would have known if you were to look at this album cover. Oh boy, right? Well, okay, look, the guy's obviously got a lazy eye. You can't really blame him for that. But I'm going to blame whoever his record company was for at least not putting him in shades or shuffling him to the back of the frame. So anyways, we're coming up to the last song. Is it a good one? Well, I'm going to let you be the judge of that one. Here it is.
As I journey through this land, there's but one who understands all the troubles and the trials I go through. Yes, there's one way up above, looking down in peace and love, and he tells me that I'm born again. As I journey through this land, there's but one who understands all the troubles and the trials I go through. Yes, there's one way up above, looking down in peace and love, and he tells me that I've been born again.
I lied. Sorry, I lied. It's just as awkward as you really expected all these songs to be. This is true awkward Christian music. Just as awkward as you expected Christian music to be, with an awkward Christian music album cover to boot. So what does the album cover look like? Looks like this. It's perfect. It's art. Even the name of the group is just awkward. Gospel heirs. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire. I don't have Legionnaire's disease. I'm a gospel heir. Rich from the gospel. Just add the word heir to anything. A hentai heir. A furry heir. I'd like some credit for your new screen name for your account on that one porn site. Okay. I will make fun of this family and the way they're dressing and their haircut and beard choices. Look, I'll do it. High-waisted, ill-fitting, and I guess the kid must have kicked up some kind of major stink behind the scenes because he didn't want to wear a tie or have to tuck his shirt in. Because of the weird lighting and the weird low-quality camera this was taken with, I honestly thought the kid was wearing some kind of blue and white Hawaiian shirt, or some kind of blue shirt with white flames on it. The church family and Guy Fieri. And yes, I will talk about the teenage kid. It's a bold-fashioned statement. Okay, look, the bowl cut was pretty popular in the 70s. I mean, the Beatles did it the decade prior, and I think that this was the first decade when guys were really starting to grow their hair long. But of course, you gotta be respectful of Jesus, so you can't have your hair too long. But that was popular in the 70s. What wasn't was this beard choice. Okay, so look, shaving pretty much anything requires some kind of time out of your day, some kind of attention to detail to how you look. Why do you only shave the moustache off? Now you've only got hair on your neck. It's like a table missing its legs. I mean, sure, the table part is the most important part of a table, but you sort of need the legs so it can sort of, stay suspended in the air. So you can, write stuff or eat food at, waist height while sitting down comfortably. The beard's there, but the beard without a moustache is just, it's just neck hair. I was about to say he looks like an Amish kid who's on Rumspringer, but, the dad looks normal, the mum looks normal, the sister looks awkward but normal, the kid looks like Guy Fieri but he is normal. I guess this is what happens when you homeschool your kids. They won't know that only shaving the moustache off is a pretty bad idea. And since this video is already 30 minutes long, that's about all I can do. I'd love to include more tunes. Maybe it'll be a part 2 sometime. Maybe even a part 3. But since this is already going to eat up my bandwidth and have my roommates yell at me, the intro is just going to be short and sweet. If I was going to do some kind of tier list on these songs, based on how good the songs are, it would look like this. But to close this video off, I am going to include one more song from an awkward album cover. One I should have covered, but forgot to. Let's give this video the outro it truly deserves. Once again, thanks for watching, especially if you made it all the way through, because this is your reward.